In one of my most recent videos, my Carry-On Essentials video, which I will link up here, I mentioned that we made homemade pumpkin chocolate chip muffins that are a family favorite. So today I wanted to share those with you. I have this cute little sugar pie pumpkin that I need to cook up. So we're gonna make those muffins. I am going to make a gluten-free variation, and I promise you can't tell. However, if you don't want to make these gluten-free, I will have the regular recipe down in the description box. If you are using a fresh one like this, it needs to be a pie pumpkin or a sugar pumpkin, and I'm going to cook it in the Instant Pot. So I'm going to put my little rack in the bottom, which I've already done, and I'm going to sit him right in there. I think I'm going to turn it on its side because it's a little bit tall, and then you just need 1 cup of water. And you can go ahead and close your Instant Pot, put it on sealing, and you're gonna cook it for 18 minutes and then do a manual release. All right, while we're waiting for our pumpkin to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the dry ingredients. This is one of those recipes where you do the dry and the wet separate, and then you add the wet to the dry and kind of mix it all together. So normally this recipe calls for a mixture of whole wheat flour and white flour, and I will link the original recipe below, like I said. But I've been using this multi-blend flour that I got off of Amazon, and it has worked really well. And I use part of that and then part almond flour. Now, I do think that probably any gluten-free flour blend would work in place of that multi-blend flour that I'm using. So feel free to use your favorite one in there. And then we have to add in all of the best flavors of fall, our cinnamon, our nutmeg, and our cloves. And of course, you need the typical baking powder and baking soda to make these muffins nice and fluffy. I really like this Bob's Red Mill baking powder because it is aluminum free, and I think that's important. I buy my baking soda in those big bags from Costco, but sometimes it gets like kind of lumpy, and there's nothing worse than getting a lump of baking soda in your baked goods. So I bought this little strainer off of Amazon. I'll link it below, and I just put my baking soda through there just to make sure I get all the lumps out. Because, you know, nothing worse than that, and trust me, my husband knows because he's always the lucky one that gets like the lump of baking soda or the bone from the fish or the hair from the dog. He just is lucky, I guess. Give all these dry ingredients a good mix until everything is gently mixed through, and we will move on to our wet ingredients. All right, so the pumpkin is done, and as you can see, the skin has completely separated from the pumpkin flesh itself, and the pumpkin flesh is soft and ready to be blended, and you're gonna want 15 ounces of pumpkin. So if you're using canned pumpkin, it's just 1 can, like one of the smaller cans, but otherwise, if you're doing your pumpkin in the Instant Pot like I did, then just go ahead and blend this up and measure it out to make sure you have 15 ounces, which is just shy of 2 cups. Well, I am a real person and I make real mistakes, including not removing the seeds out of my freshly cooked pumpkin before I tried to blend it. Yeah, you can imagine how well that went. So needless to say, I only ended up with half of my freshly cooked pumpkin, half the amount that I needed. And gratefully, they had pumpkin on sale at Kroger last week, so I had a few extra cans, so I'm gonna have to mix them. So if you're blending your fresh pumpkin, don't forget to remove your seeds first. So I'm mixing this in my stand mixer, but you could certainly do this by hand. It's not a hard recipe to mix together. We're gonna do all of our wet ingredients and our sugar in here. Isn't it fascinating, the difference in color between the canned pumpkin and the fresh pumpkin? I wonder why that is. We're gonna add in the sugar, and I was gonna mention to you, there are 2 cups of sugar in this recipe, which is a lot, I know. It does make 2 dozen muffins, but if you wanted to cut back on the sugar, you could just reduce the white sugar, just add 1/2 a cup less, which I've done before and it still tastes great. Side note, I love these glass containers with the wood lid I got at IKEA. I think they were like 12 bucks, but they are the best for sugar. This recipe also has 3 eggs, which I think really adds to the muffin's fluffiness, which is awesome. When you're baking anything that's gluten-free, you need a little extra lift. So I think that's one of the reasons why this recipe translates so well. We're gonna add in our yogurt. Now, the original recipe calls for vanilla yogurt. I just use plain Greek yogurt and it works great. And I love that you're adding in some really great protein in there. If you wanted to make this dairy-free yogurt would work just as well, or if you were out of yogurt, you could also use sour cream as a good substitute. I'm just gonna eyeball the vanilla because that's what I do. And then we're gonna add in our oil, and I just store my oil in a mason jar like this, and then I bought these really cool lids, like olive oil lids, off of Amazon. And it's great because then I can use a jar that I already have, and it actually fits in my cupboard. I find most of the olive oil carafes are way too tall. We're going to mix all this up until it's smooth and creamy, and then I'm going to share with you a little tip that I actually learned from Our Best Bites. So when you have chocolate chips in a recipe, they tend to sink to the bottom. So what you do is if you just mix them with a little bit of flour, or in my case, I just mix them all in with the dry ingredients, and I find that being mixed in with the flour prevents them from sinking to the bottom, which is great. So we're going to add the dry to the wet and just gently mix it. You do not want to overmix or like beat it on high or anything, because you will get rid of a lot of your nice fluffiness that you're going to want in these muffins. So just turn it on, like I think I have it on a 4 or between 2 and 4, and mix it together, and you want to scrape down the sides a little bit as you go until it's gently mixed through. So we are going to ignore the fact that my muffin pans are not pretty and shiny and that they need to be replaced. We're going to take 2 muffin pans and line them with paper liners if you want. You don't have to, but I like this because it makes for really easy cleanup. And I'm using this handy dandy cookie scoop I got off of Amazon. It's like a cookie batter scoop. I think it's the 3 tablespoon size, and it just makes for a nice, neat, easy way to scoop everything into the cups. You're going to fill the muffin cups all the way to the top of the paper and divide that evenly between both pans. All right, the muffins are ready to go in the oven. They bake at 350 for 22 minutes. Obviously, everyone's oven is a little bit different, so you're gonna wanna keep an eye on them. And if you're not sure how to tell if muffins are done, it's really simple. You just take a toothpick, you find your largest muffin, you stick it in and pull it out. And if it doesn't have any sticky crumbs or any gooey batter on it, then they're ready to come out of the oven. And when you take them out, you're going to want to stick them right on a cooling rack right away. Do not leave them in the muffin tin because they will continue to bake a little bit after they come out. It's called over baking. So you want to take them out, let them cool on a rack. And if you guys are liking this video, will you give it a thumbs up down there? It just helps my channel and helps me to know that you like these kinds of videos. And if there's something that you would love to see me bake or you would love to make and you've never done it, put it in the comments down below and I'll try to make that one of my next videos. I cannot even tell you how many times people that I know that I've given these to have asked me for the recipe. They are that good. They make the perfect breakfast or on-the-go snack, and they freeze really well for up to 3 months. And even with them being gluten-free, look how soft and tender and moist that crumb is. These are the best. These are so good, you guys. I wish you could smell them. They have the best texture. They're not dense or dry or crumbly like sometimes gluten-free muffins can be. They're springy and soft and moist, and they taste incredible. Like a little bit of fall in a muffin cup. So I hope that you'll try these and that you'll love them as much as we do. They are a staple in our house, and I've included the recipe down below. Thank you to Our Best Bites because that's where the recipe came from, and I just adapted it to be gluten-free. And don't forget to check out all my other videos on your way out. Especially if you love to bake, go ahead and check out my whole baking playlist. I will link it up here so that you can watch all of the yummy videos. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.